Steve Gamache with a Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and this time we're looking at the Shiro Kamo Kudauchi Aogami Super Gyuto 210mm knife. This line of knives has a core steel of Aogami or Blue Paper's super reactive carbon steel. The heat treat's about 63 to 64 Rockwell. The construction is a Kudauchi covered, blacksmith finish covered iron cladding. It is reactive over Aogami super core, so the entire knife is reactive. The Kudauchi provides some protective layer. This particular one is pretty smooth, but with a matte finish on it. The weight is about 173 grams, about 6.1 ounces. All these dimensions and weights will vary a little bit from knife to knife since they're handmade. The blade length on this is fairly oversized for a 210 at about 220, and the overall length about 360 on the entire knife. These are pretty thin knives overall for the style that they are, and so the spine back here above the heel is about 2.7 millimeters, but then that thins down to under 2 for most of the length of the knife, and then thins down really well, of course, where the grind starts about right here at the tip. The blade height is quite generous for a 210. This is a pretty tall 210 at 53 millimeters plus a little bit, so it's quite tall. The handle is nicely done, octagonal, ambidextrous, rosewood with a black packerwood ferrule. This particular one has a real nice pattern to the wood. The handle circumference right here is about 3 inches. And the knife has a nice fit and finish to it. The grinds are really consistent on these. The grinds are well done. You've got relieved choil neck emulto area here and also the spine. So these are ready to roll right out of the box. I will say there is a lacquer coating over the top of the blade, especially on the area of reactive steel, and that lacquer sometimes gets down on the actual edge. So even though the edges aren't too bad, out of the box it can be not very sharp because of that lacquer. So you need to hit these with a sharpening stone or two right out of the box, in my opinion, to get that lacquer off the edge so you can experience the true sharpness that lies within. And if you don't sharpen, maybe order the sharpening service so you can get these sharp out of the box. Well, let's take a look at the close-up of the knife. I've been using this particular one to get a feel for this line of knives, so you'll see a little bit of patina starting a little bit on the edge with the lacquer starting to wear off, and then also actually on the cladding. And again, these are really well ground. The performance on this knife is outstanding. It's got a great balance of a thin tip that flies through onions, for example, and soft ingredients, as well as a thin enough behind the edge style to it that it doesn't wedge much at all in ingredients. So it's a pretty good compromise of balance of features. So overall, again, this is a fairly thin, high performance style KU style blade. The balance point on this is just a little bit behind the pinch grip. These handles aren't the world's lightest handles, so that contributes a little bit to that, but it's right about there, and my pinch grip's just a touch in front of that, but it has a nimble feel despite the size and height of the blade. The profile, I should say the choil shot, these are pretty thin behind the edge, like I said. Let's take a look at what it looks like on a cutting board. So here's the profile. Change our focus here. So here's your profile, and this actually has a reasonable flat enough heel area with just a touch of back bevel or back belly that it works pretty well even on chopping type stuff, although it does have some belly to it. So let's take a look here. So you do have a little bit of a flat area towards the back. I didn't really have much problem with accordion cuts on this knife, and sometimes I do. So you'll see you've got a fair amount of belly towards the tip on this. So I can get really high with this particular knife, but it rolls into a gentle curve. It doesn't have a long flat spot, so it's not a true chopper, but a pretty versatile profile. You can see the spine definitely comes down to meet the edge versus the edge coming way up to meet the spine. It's that shape of blade. So you can, like I said, you can get fairly high on the grind or on the rock on this if you want to. The height actually didn't bother me too much in use, and sometimes taller knives aren't really my thing like this, but I thought it really worked well, and very high quality blade. Quite impressed with the fit and finish, handling, performance. Just a really nice 210 Gyuto, actually oversized. So there you have the Shiro Kamo Kurauchi Aogami Super Gyuto 2 10mm knife.